What's the biggest takeaway from spring so far? Yes, I know it's early, but it's never too early to talk Auburn football. And how far can the Auburn basketball team go in the NCAA tournament? All that and more on today's Locked On Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. Mike G of the War Rapport hanging out with us today, and it's back. Football is back on the plains. Is it anything extremely exciting, Mike G? Probably not, but it's information. It's information that I think we can use and digest and discuss and analyze time and time again, and I'm never going to get tired of it. So early in the spring, what have you kind of taken away from the first, full day of practice that happened on Monday?
Well, number one, I think everybody's just happy to get back to football.
No question.
Now, I had sent you a tweet that Auburn football put out there on their Twitter. Said, "We're back."
We talked about this yesterday. Yep.
Yeah. For some reason, it wasn't well received, but I thought a lot of the backlash was overblown. Yeah, ultimately, they're just happy to be back to football, back on the field, back in practice, in a few days, back in pads, and back to doing what everybody loves, which is focusing on the game. So this is going to be a much needed distraction after a tumultuous kind of offseason where we were talking about anything but football, essentially. So having football to talk about is really exciting. Now, our biggest takeaways, man, let me tell you, this quarterback race is going to be intense. It's going to be intense, right? You've got Zach Calzada, who will be limited, but he will be doing some things. I'll be looking for any footage that we see on that. Yeah,
we mentioned this yesterday, but he seems more active than I was expecting. He was last in the pecking order as far as the order of when the quarterbacks went through drills. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. But according to that, Finley's a starter and D. Davis is the number 2 guy. Then it went Ashford, Garner, Calzada, I believe. So does that matter? I don't know. But he was moving around a lot more than I thought.
It wasn't his throwing shoulder. So can't stress that enough. It wasn't his throwing shoulder that he had surgery on. So he will be able to do some things, but ultimately, it's a full body motion kind of thing. So ultimately, you do want to protect him from himself, not getting out there and doing any herky-jerky motions that might ultimately lead to other things while those muscles are weak recovering from surgery. Now, as far as the pecking order is concerned at quarterback, I wouldn't read too much into that as well. You expect TJ Finley to come out as the number 1 because that's the guy that's been in the system the longest. He understands. And as far as his staff is concerned, based on dues paid, for lack of a better term, he is going to be the first to go out there and prove that he is improved. So this quarterback race did not start with practice. It started months ago in the weight room. And these guys have been out there throwing with receivers and doing anything they can to try to get into tip-top condition for what ultimately is going to be a steep competition this spring.
Right. And that's something that you have been pretty outspoken on, and rightfully so, about how the quarterback battle did not start on Monday, like you just said. It started with guys going out and throwing and getting as much, timing and routes and reps in as possible with these wide receivers, which we learned a little bit of information about them as well. I guess the biggest thing is, Javarius is still here, which is great. But I think, to me, the more information that I hear and see, the more I like Finley early in this battle. And I've been in the Calzada camp, but I think if Javarius Johnson's still on this roster, he's going to have the most chemistry with Finley. And same with Shedrick Jackson. And I think that matters. It's gonna favor Finley to some extent.
Yeah, listen, TJ Finley, all the things that TJ needs to work on are things that are super correctable. And it really just comes down to how hard is he going to work and how much of that is going to take this offseason. Now, he's not the most mobile guy, and in today's college football, a lot of people freak out about that. Well, what's he going to do when the rush gets after him? He doesn't have to be if he understands his reads. I heard a really good quarterback told us one time that a good quarterback sometimes is on his second read before the ball is snapped. And so if he's that kind of guy behind center, then it negates a lot of the pass rushes that people will send at him or the weaknesses in pass protection that Auburn has had.
Do you think he's that kind of guy, though?
I think he can become that kind of guy. I think that with a lot of hard work and study and film, Zach, every former player that we have interviewed that ultimately went pro told us in the interviews in the Building Rapport series that we did that they wish they had taken watching film more seriously when they were in college. Hell, Malik Willis said that. After he got to Liberty, he said it. Now the feedback wasn't given to him, but he said, "Listen, I wasn't watching film the way that I should be." A lot of guys, even the good ones, man, have that problem. So
that's so easy to say after the fact. The big question is he going to do it now?
Right.
And I don't know. I think when you talk about watching tape, and I like TJ Finley, but like, when you talk about watching tape, you think discipline, right? Because you got to make yourself do it. It's not fun. You got to make yourself do it. And I don't know if he's got that. I hope he does. I'm really pulling for him. And I'm at the point now where I think if Finley plays to his potential, it's the best thing for Auburn.
Yeah.
I think the only person with a higher ceiling in 2022 than Finley is D Davis. Because I think Garner has it maybe next season.
Right.
And so right now, when you just talk about ceiling, which I think is what Auburn needs to look at, because you're not going into the season trying to win 6 games or 7 games. You're trying to hope lightning strikes, catch lightning in a bottle and make the offense.
Right.
And I think Finley has that just because his arm is ridiculous. I mean, it's a cannon. But can he pull it all together? And this is the same dude though that's putting Snapchat stories up of him, driving 90 something miles an hour on the interstate. It's why are you showing us that? That's not needed. That's not, why are you doing that? That's not what a leader in Bryan Harsin's system does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the game is up here, Zach.
No question.
At the end of the day, these kids are playing college football on the highest level of college football in the SEC. Right. So there is an assumption.
All these dudes, Mike G, they all have the ability.
Yeah, they all have, some of them have better strengths than others, but they all have ability. So start there. You can't get to this level without having talent. Now, what you do with that talent is one thing. Some guys overly depend on their talent. They lean on their talent. And they don't put in the things that nobody sees, right? The things that fans don't see, the time in the film room. Ring a bell if you've heard this story or this term. When you talk about the better players, you'll hear some of the announcers, at the next level say, "Well, he's a real student of the game," right? What is being a student of the game? That is wanting to, Zach, when I want to get something done, I make myself a student of that thing.
Yeah.
I find tutorials and I seek the advice of others and, any information I can get about how to do this thing. Right. And, the great ones do that. I know this is not exact parallel to athletics, but, over quarantine, when we started the Rapport, I wanted a better computer. Instead of buying one, I decided to build it. And it's nerve-wracking building a computer. But I learned everything I could. I got information. I leaned on others who had experience doing that. And ultimately, I built a monster, right? TJ Finley is going to be trying to build his monster this offseason. A lot of them are. So you got to put in the extra work. I've seen it in my time at Auburn, working with Auburn football. I saw a lot of guys get drafted not because they were the most talented, but because they were the hardest working. Right. They just would not be outworked. So don't be outworked by anybody, and you've got a chance.
Yep, no question about it. So we'll see what happens with the quarterback situation moving forward. Today's show is brought to you by Stat Hero. Stat Hero has a ton of different ways to play. So after your bracket falls apart Thursday night, check out Stat Heroes app, and you can keep playing because most of us are going to be ready to move on from that piece of paper that we wrote down teams on going into the tournament. So, yeah, be sure to check that out and take control back from the handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. They have Pick'em, and as well as, in addition to their Pick'em games, they also have dozens of lineups you can comb through and take them on head-to-head. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I've played it a lot since downloading it this past Friday. I played a lot over the weekend. Looking forward to playing starting Thursday again. So sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code lockedon for a 100% deposit match. Free money, people. stathero.com/lockedon. Today's show also brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the planet. And so if you're still trying to, get a little healthier, live that healthy lifestyle, and you got those cravings in the middle of the afternoon, Built Bar is the way to go. Most of the bars are about 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. They keep you full, and they taste like a candy bar. Can't beat that. Built.com. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off. That is at Built.com. Mike G, what's going on these days at the War Report?
We got lots going on at the War Report. We did have a quarterback interview series going on, so look out for more of those dropping in the coming weeks. We got to Robbie Ashford. We did TJ Finley. We're looking to get some more of these guys in front of the camera to talk to you guys about what they're doing this spring to help build themselves up and build the team up. So it'll be interesting to hear from some more of them. Other than that, just become a patron of our channel. We ask for that to continue building what we're doing at the War Report, which is ultimately bringing you more access to Auburn football.
Right. So on Monday, Auburn updated their roster. A lot of players gained a lot of weight, which is exciting. And it's a different approach than what we saw with the previous regime. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you have any kind of specific players that stood out, or just kind of the big picture element of it all, of the approach shift in strength and conditioning? And now 2 years into it, we're starting to see some guys really, really put on some size.
Yeah, listen, love talking strength and conditioning. You train. The number one reason you train is to prevent injury, first and foremost. So a well-conditioned team is a healthy team.
Yes.
You can, some accidents, some injuries are freak injuries, but for the most part, the healthy guys are the ones that stay healthy ultimately are the ones that train the hardest. So the weight room, everything you do in the weight room should be 5 times harder than anything you're ever going to do in a game. That's how you make it through a game. Training and practice has to be much harder. So the rigors that these guys will put their bodies through this off season is going to pay dividends, especially for the guys who it's their second year in this off-season strength and conditioning program, Zach. I can't stress enough. We heard Owen Pappo talk about the difference between what they were doing under Gus and what they were doing under Harsin. And I quote, he said, "We're going to look like Marines come fall." Now, if you've ever tried to get in shape, it's a lifestyle thing, man. It's not a one off-season thing. Going into your second off-season in a different strength and conditioning program will produce some crazy results. So beside practice, this is the work that gets done after bowl game and between the bowl game and the start of spring practice. Those guys are in the weight room. And you're going to see what they look like this season, man. I remember seeing Shivers going into last season and thinking, wow, man, he's shredded.
Right.
And more guys are going to do that.
He got, he was jacked, dude. Yeah. To rock some people. No question.
Oh, my goodness. So it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Just got a text from Zep. So we'll be joined by Zep Jasper in just a moment. But I want to hear your thoughts, Mike G. How far can the Auburn Tigers go in the NCAA tournament? Have you filled out your bracket yet? Do you know how far you got them going?
I do. Now, I filled out a homer bracket, so you already know where I have them.
Oh, I got them winning the whole thing, man.
Yeah. I think if this team can avoid long scoring droughts, they can win every game. The defense has not been a question for the Auburn Tigers in 2022.
Yeah.
They have consistently showed up. And as a result, no team has beat Auburn by double digits this season.
So A lot of people are saying that. I saw some other beat writers talking about that too. I don't know if that really matters. I don't know if like, okay, well, Auburn's never been blown out. Like, that's good. I think it says that they're a good team, but I don't think that's some like magic recipe where it's like, okay, they're guaranteed to go far.
Yeah, it's more of an intangible thing, Zach. It means that no matter what situation this team gets them, they don't quit.
Yeah.
Right.
And that matters. That definitely matters. Yeah.
They don't quit. So it's tough. And a lot of, sometimes when you're not scoring, when you're not scoring and the ball is not falling through the hoop, it's easy to slack on defense as well, too, and get down. Bruce Pearl said early in the season when Auburn was a one-loss team and we were undefeated in the SEC, he warned everybody. He said, guys, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag, but it was me that asked the question. He said, we're going to lose. And when we do, it's not going to be because we were resting on our laurels.
Right.
That's an exact quote. And I think that's what we've seen so far. He's delivered on that promise. We've had some frustrating offensive performances so far this season. And I can't stress enough, in some of these losses, we have played historically bad on offense. And it's
close.
And still not get blown out.
Right.
So that's why I think that double-digit number matters is because you can play like one of your best players can go 0 for 14 and you can lose by 5.
Right. In a tournament setting, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
The whole folks keep saying like, well, Auburn's guards just need to catch fire. I'm like, no, they don't. They just need to be average.
Right.
If they play average ball consistently over the course of 40 minutes, Auburn will beat most teams in its path by 10 points when it's all said and done. Arkansas State, absolutely. The winner of USC Miami in the round of 32, absolutely. That next one, I'm more concerned about that one than Kansas, whether it's Wisconsin or LSU. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned about that one than Kansas. I don't know why. That's just kind of what my gut is telling me. And I don't love the fact that, okay, they played Arkansas State, and that was almost an outlier. But then, whether it's USC or Miami, I mean, those are two very different teams. Mm-hmm. And then Wisconsin will just play. They'll slow you down and run a whole lot of half court stuff. And like
slow brand of basketball.
We haven't been great in those settings. So I almost would prefer it be LSU, honestly. But that's going to be a tough one. But I think if they get to that point, they can do it. They can do this thing.
Yeah, that Midwest region looks winnable. There's nothing in that.
Got a great draw, man.
It was a really great draw. Now, I was selfishly hoping for the East bracket so that I could get Sweet 16 right up the road from me, but that was going to be much harder. It's going to be a much harder bracket. The draw that we have, like you said, being able to go through either USC or Miami to get to the Sweet 16, they should be this team. Anything shorter than Sweet 16 is a disappointment. Let's just be clear. All right, you got a 2 seed in the tournament. You just missed the 1 seed. You got to make it to Sweet 16, man.
You should make it through the first weekend. Yeah.
Right, and then standing in your way in a Sweet 16 is going to be, a lot of beatable teams, right? Maybe one team you beat already, and 3 other teams possibly that. I can't say they've done anything that's super scary if this team continues to play defense the way they do. And to your point, not have the guards catch fire, but just have maybe one other person other than Jabari or Walker have an average game.
Right. I'm right there with you, man, because the defense is going to keep you in it. One more time, Mike G, before we jump into our conversation with Zep Jasper to get his thoughts on Arkansas State in the first weekend of the tournament. Once again, how can folks check everything you guys are doing?
Hey, just go on over to YouTube, type in the word Rapport, hit subscribe, join our Patreon community. We've got a lot of great content coming for you guys. We will be covering the spring, and we will be live from every round of the NCAA tourney, checking out what they got going on there.
Absolutely. That is Mike G with the War Report. Be sure to subscribe to them on YouTube. Today's show is brought to you by rockauto.com. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible for your traditional chain storefronts to keep all the parts for your car, truck, or SUV. So you go to one of these stores, they're going to say, hey, yeah, we'll get the part shipped. You can come pick it up in a few weeks, or they may ship it to your house. Just go to rockauto.com, skip the middleman. You're going to save a ton of money, and it'll show up right at your door. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car, truck, or SUV, right? Locked On Auburn in their How Did You Hear About Us box. so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. March Madness is here. You do not want to leave your home. Why? Because you don't want to leave the TV. I mean, after 11 o'clock, it's just nonstop great basketball all day long. So you're going to want delicious food brought to your door. And so we want you to check out fetchmedelivery.com. Check out our friends at Fetch Me. If you're in the Auburn, Opelika, Lee County area, they will take care of you. And also, if you run out of alcohol, if you run out of your drinky drink, go to fetchmealcohol.com and they can bring you alcohol quickly, which is good. We're all going to need it this weekend because it's a party, baby. From Thursday to Sunday, it's a party. And Fetch Me can help you do that. FetchMeDelivery.com for food. FetchMeAlcohol.com, of course, for alcohol. And joining us now, Auburn guard Zep Jasper. Zep, it's here. This is March. I imagine this is a pretty exciting week for you guys.
No doubt. You know, it's a very exciting week. With coming from that loss. You know, things change in this perspective of being at March Madness. You know, I call it demon time. When I call it demon time, it means win or go home. Meaning you got nothing to lose. You got to fight for everything. It's like you're fighting for your life in this tournament. So, you know, that's why I call it demon time. March Madness, you know, it's key. And I want to see Auburn cutting those nets down.
Right. Auburn historically, and I think you've kind of alluded to this in the past too, but it seems like it doesn't matter what sport it is. Auburn appears to always perform better when people count them out. And folks are kind of pointing at that, you know, the loss in the SEC tournament last weekend and kind of the way the seeding fell. A lot of folks are counting you guys out. Is that something you guys are hearing? Is that something that you guys are using for motivation? Or is it just, hey, we just need to focus on Jacksonville State?
No. We see a lot of people counting us out right now.
Yeah.
They think we this and they think we ain't that. Ever since we lost to Texas A&M, they think we can't win a game. You know, so I see those big, you know, the big people talking that be on the, you know, ESPN and all those type of guys. They say they don't think Auburn to be, you know, coming out, you know, South region.
Right.
They don't think we got enough. They say, you know, some of the things to do is suspect. So, you know, I think it's good that they say that because, you know, we got to make them eat their own words. We got to make them say, my bad, I'm sorry for saying Auburn won't do this or do that. But, you know, I respect them. I love to prove people wrong. And, you know, they down us right now. So it's a lot of motivation to that.
I've never seen so many people kind of call out a team for, you know, they've got the best player in the tournament with Jabari. I don't think I'm out of line with saying that. I assume you would agree with that. I think he's, you know, obviously he's very good. And then the whole people kind of saying, well, you want to pick a team that is good away from home. And you guys have the best road record and the best conference in college basketball.
No doubt. We got the best road record, but records don't mean nothing now. Records go out the window. No matter if you lost 4 games, you know, whether your record was 28-1. Everybody is 0-0. You know, everybody's going to bring their A game. This is March. You know, people got something to prove now. You know, mid-majors, low majors, it don't matter what's your name. Whatever your name is on the jersey, they coming out to play no matter who you are. So, you know, I think it's just about who comes to play, who comes ready, who comes to play with dog and intensity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have shown that throughout the season. I don't think there's any question about that, Zep. Where you guys are playing is pretty close to where you're from, right?
No doubt. Greenville, South Carolina is approximately 2 hours from where I'm from.
You got some family there?
Not in Greenville, but I have a lot of people at the game.
Is family going to go and travel and watch you?
No doubt. It's going to be very interesting. So, you know, I just want to give my family a show. I want the team to give my family a show and also give their families a show. Not just me. It's not all about me, but sure. I want our team to play as good as we can. Like I said, we just fighting for something. We fighting for our life.
Right.
So that's going to be very interesting, you know, for us to play with that type of intensity.
What do we know about Jacksonville State so far, Zep?
We don't know a lot. We just know their personnel and how they play. And,
Okay.
What type of chemistry they have, and on how they sets and how they play defense and how they do that. But, we don't know a lot, but, we're going to dig deep down into that, over these next few days and just try to lock in on a lot of great things because, it's crucial. This is a crucial time. This is a time that you all have to come together. And we just want to win it all. We just want to show people why to never doubt us again.
So do you look at the full bracket, or do you kind of look ahead? It's like, okay, we could play Miami, or we could play USC, or we could play Wisconsin, we could play LSU. Probably eventually going to play Kansas. I think their path is pretty simple. So is that something you guys look ahead at, or is it all about Jacksonville State?
Nah, we really ain't looking ahead. When you look ahead, bad things happen. Like you can't take no team for granted. Like these dudes coming out here to play. You looking at a team ahead. You might lose because you ain't prepared, you ain't focused. You got to be focused on the team that's in front of you,
right?
Not that's beside you. Because truth be told, we probably did that against Texas A&M. I know a lot of people ain't counting them. They ain't count on them, but they counted them out. They had a lot of motivation, and it's just interesting. That you gotta pay attention to the team in front of you. I don't care what seed they are. They all are good. They all are teams that can beat any team on any given day.
I mean, that Texas A&M team was crazy. I mean, it's like they wouldn't miss. And then they didn't miss for like the next few games either. Were you surprised at all to see them not make the tournament?
I was surprised. Coach Buzz Williams is a great coach.
Yeah.
The way he coaches the game, the way he get his players involved, and his energy is contagious. I was upset that they didn't make the tournament because I actually respect those guys. Those are guys who, when you get on the court, you just respect those guys and how they play. They got dog intensity, and it's like they play with a chip on their shoulder. So I was very upset that they didn't make the tournament. I was devastated by that.
Right. Well, Zep, thank you so much for your time. I know this is a really big week for you guys, and you guys just got done with practice, so I'm sure you're tired and hungry and ready to get home. So thank you so much, man. And I'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you.
That is Zep Jasper joining us. And that does it for today's edition of Locked On Auburn. We'll be back tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video. Click that subscribe button. It means a ton. And come back here on the Thursday edition of the show.